Dar, Chapter 8, Intruder. Dar sat alone beside his fire in the cold dawn. He hugged his knees and thought about the sliver of moon that had hung in the sky last night. The coming initiation ceremony made him aware of the passage of time in a new and troubling way. Soon the moon would disappear from view and the dark of the moon would be here, and with it would come the ceremony. Dar thought about the ritual that would somehow change him into a man, and shivered. For warmth and comfort, he made a hot broth of water and some dried mushrooms he found in the storage pit. Near the pit, he noticed a stretched deerskin secured to the ground by sharp wooden pegs. He returned to his worries by the fire. When a tent flap opened, Dar looked up and watched his grandmother walk to the fire. It was rare to have anyone join him this early, and she had never done it before. "It's cold, grandmother," Dar said, and handed Mora his drink to share. "Why are you up so early?" Mora knelt down by the stretched deerskin. "You and Keenock both need new tunics, and it takes me longer than ever to get the skins ready for sewing. Bending over is hard on my back, so I thought I'd start early and work for shorter periods of time." Using a flat flint tool, Mora began to scrape the blood, fat, and scraps of muscle from the exposed underside of the deerskin. Dar watched her sure strokes. "Grandmother, the ceremony is almost here. If I tell you something, will you promise not to tease me?" Her kind face made him continue. "I'm frightened. What if I fail at something during the ceremony and they don't think I deserve to be a man?" "Every boy is frightened before his initiation ceremony," Mora said. Dar looked into the fire. "I don't think Bowen is." Mora shook her head. "Every boy is frightened," she repeated. "Was my father afraid?" Dar asked. "Of course, and so was your uncle." "Keenock frightened?" Dar felt better. "Dar, the real test is whether you can do what is expected of you, even if you have fears and doubts about yourself." Dar thought of the rocky ledge. "Was that why you sent me instead of Bowen to get the healing plants?" Mora looked up and nodded, then suddenly shouted, "Behind you, bear!" Dar spun around to see a large brown bear standing on its hind legs with his snout lifted to catch the scent of Mora's deerskin. Dar, as usual, had left his spear in the tent, too confident of animals' inborn fear of fire. The smell of fresh blood and fat had overcome the bear's fear. The bear dropped to the ground and started toward the deerskin in a slow, stiff-legged walk, its head swaying from side to side. Dar had never been this close to a large and hungry bear. He grabbed the unlit end of a flaming piece of firewood and put himself between the intruder and his grandmother. The bear rose again on its hind legs, and Dar saw clearly the long, curved claws that he must avoid. Dar walked toward the bear, shouting and waving the torch in front of its face. The bear ignored the torch and moved closer to the deerskin. Then Dar came in close and pushed the torch directly into its snout. The bear let out a roar, dropped down, and whirled around on its back legs. It lunged off into the trees beyond the camp clearing, leaving the smell of singed flesh and fur in the cold air. Hearing the commotion, the clan people spilled out of their tents, the men with weapons in their hands, the women clutching their children. Dar looked at the startled faces around him and waited for his grandmother to say something, but she nodded to him. Dar spoke. "A large bear with a burned nose, but he's gone." Mora whispered to Dar, "You see, you acted even though you were frightened." In a louder voice she said, "I'm going to prepare the morning meal. Dar will have a large portion."